Hello and welcome to episode 27 of Shared Discovery, the show and podcast dedicated to sharing the many exciting and enjoyable aspects of games and gaming. I'm your host, Victor, and today I'm joined by Ront. I added T. Welcome back, Ron.
Hey!
Ron, how are you doing?
It's good to be here with an extra T, and I'm doing well, Victor. How are you?
You normally only have one T.
Yeah, right.
So you're caffeinated today.
Just a little bit.
Good. How you been?
Man, pretty all right. You know, going through some crazy stressful stuff at the moment, but hanging in there.
It's life. That's how it goes. Are you playing any games to help with that stress?
Ooh, Magic the Gathering has been keeping me going.
You still playing?
Yeah.
What decks are you playing recently?
I just got a new deck.
Really?
It's was it Voltron Commander?
Okay.
Boros, Artifact.
One-shot deck.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I made a One Punch Man deck as well.
Very cool. I've also been playing some Magic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I play it every single week, multiple times a week.
Every week.
I even did some card organizing for the first time this year.
Hey,
It's
me
crazy.
too.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. It was in just an annoying pile last night. I was like, it's time.
It's time.
It's time.
Yeah, I felt the same thing like a couple weeks ago when I was like looking at all these piles and boxes everywhere. Like, this has to get better.
It has to.
This has to change.
There's just so much miscellaneous stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's gone.
Yep.
So, other than that, playing Baldur's Gate. Having a great time with that. Fantastic.
Good.
That's a good studio. Today we're not talking about a good studio.
Yeah.
Which I guess, does that segue into our topic today?
I think so.
So today we're going to have a more somber episode today.
For sure.
You brought me this topic. You wanted to do a controversies episode.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about Ubisoft. And if anyone knows anything about Ubisoft, you're probably already laughing.
Yes.
Saying you don't have enough time in an hour.
We don't.
We don't.
We really don't.
But we'll give you a little bit of history of the company. Talk about a little bit of their popular games, but we're going to mostly be looking at the controversies. So before we get into that, I think it's important to pause because we have a trigger warning here.
Yep.
Because I'll let you get into this.
Yeah, sure. So we have a trigger warning today for this episode because this is going to contain references of violence and sexual assault, so be advised. The gaming industry is very fraught and not what I would say good in a lot of ways. And so just be forewarned, if you don't already know, this is some pretty grim and honestly like very triggering stuff. So be warned, be prepared.
Yeah, and the intention for this is to just help you get informed as gamers. What kinds of games are you playing? What companies are you supporting?
Exactly. Where is your money going to? And what is your money supporting? And because that's essentially what you're doing when you're buying from one of these companies, right? Is you are saying, these people, whatever they are doing right now, keep doing it.
Absolutely.
It's a vote of confidence.
Yes. So I wanted to have this warning right at the beginning because for some people this episode might not be for you.
Yep.
That is totally okay.
Skip it. That'll be fine. Not a big deal. Come back again for one of our more fun episodes.
Come on down.
You got it.
So to rewind just a little bit, just want to remind everyone, if you want to come back for a more happy episode, make sure you check us out on Instagram, on YouTube, Spotify, right? And I think it's really important, I'll plug this here, it's really important especially to go to our YouTube channel. We've been migrating our videos to our own YouTube channel because we're going to be having a D&D gameplay series really soon.
I'm so excited.
We've been practicing the setup in here. Ron's going to DM.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to kind of roll with our beginner's guide that we had. We're going to have another guide on how to make characters. We're going to just play.
All right.
So make sure you check us out on YouTube. You can listen to us too. We're on Spotify, Google, Apple. But we have an overhead so you can see our minis as we move around the game there. And then also check us out on Instagram at Shared Discovery Show. Always posting videos of like little short funny clips I make of the episodes and then shots of the studio, the games we're playing. So, all right, Ron, let's get in. I got a question for you. I like to start some of these off with some trivia.
Hit me.
So what is Ubisoft short for?
So this is an easy question for me to answer since I read the Wikipedia
I too read the
article. It's ubiquitous software.
Ubiquitous. That's a great word.
That's right.
It's a great name.
Yeah,
It's like, it feels like a waste of a great name.
it is.
By the end of the episode, you're like, man, what a waste of an awesome name.
Because like, who doesn't want to be ubiquitous and everywhere and
Honestly.
like games and
Come on.
software and sounds great.
So I just like that little bit of trivia. And what their name, the Ubiquitous, honestly is fitting, not in a positive way, but the reach across the industry.
Yeah.
So we'll see that as the episode goes on. So
Right.
today we're going to be talking about Ubisoft, and let's just dive into a little bit of the history, where they got started, what does the timeline look like?
Sure. So the timeline starts all the way back in the 80s. 88, right? And the whole, like, before I get too far, the whole company, it's a publisher. So it publishes, it distributes video games for, like, every single system you can think of they distribute. So it's, like, consoles, PC, smartphones, tablets, both physical and online, and home and portable, video, like, everything you can think of. Like, Ubisoft has their fingers in it.
Think about this Ubiquitous word, right?
And in 86, so it wasn't 88, so March 28th, 1986, Ubisoft was founded by the 5 Guillemot brothers in France as Ubisoft, 2 separate words.
Yes.
Entertainment SA. Ubisoft was 2 words originally, but they started out in Paris, France, but soon moved to Créteil, which is a suburb of Paris. And they worked out of a chateau, which, if you're not familiar, is a type of French mansion. Which, where do you get a French mansion to start your new company?
Oh, they started from the ground up. They built it themselves.
Bootstrapped, yeah, you got it.
And this, I was doing the research, reading through the wiki,
Yeah.
same wiki you were, and I was like, okay, these are rich kids.
Yep, these are rich kids.
The company, they worked to sell supplies to farmers. And they were like, okay, these 5 brothers were going through school, getting some experience. Like, okay, what can we sell to?
Yeah.
And they're like, they started with like CDs and electronics and computers, and then they saw the video games were popping off. Like, that's the one.
That's the
Let's do it.
Yeah.
And the quote in there, I might mess it up, but who cares? It's funny. Is like their mom was like, "You can do that." But you have to run the company yourself, darlings. And it's like, okay, these are rich kids. This is hilarious.
Oh, wow.
So you can see their motivations from the very creation of the company. It was like, how do we make money? Video games make money. Let's do that. And you'll see that as we go through the history.
Yes.
So I wanted to chime in there.
And so in a few years later, in 88, they had 6 developers, including Michel Ancel, an animator, and Serge Hascote, a game tester. And you're going to want to remember these names because
We're unfortunately going to be saying them too many times.
they're going to come up later.
Coming up later.
And then in 88 as well, Yves Guillemot was put in charge as the chief executive officer. And then will continue for the entire history of Ubisoft. Yves will stay in charge.
Yeah.
And they release very few games, not many of real note or mention, like Zombie. I've never heard of it.
I was reading through the list. I didn't hear any. I didn't recognize any of these until this one.
Yeah, 95 when they released their first big hit, Rayman.
That was their breakout hit.
Yeah. And I personally enjoyed it. Decent game. Have you ever played Rayman?
I think I have in passing, maybe like 15 minutes, but I haven't really dove in. And that's interesting what I found for these Ubisoft games. I played them in passing. Played them at your house or something, but it was never anything that grabbed me.
Right. And we'll have more about that too.
Yes.
They released very few games, no public offering. Then after their huge success in 95, the year after, they had a public offering, so they're no longer privately owned by the brothers. They're publicly owned, and they got tons of investment money, and were able to, over the next few years, 19 years, they continued to expand almost unchecked.
Yes.
With no stopping.
Yes, they have studios all over the world, grabbing up this, developing, grabbing this right.
Yep. And Hasco, previously mentioned, would become the head of the editorial department in 2001 and carry on until 2019. so that every game published in that period was under his purview, and he had the final call on the editorial process. In 2003, they rebranded to Ubisoft.
How we know it now.
Pushed the words together and got rid of all the extra fluff. And currently, they're sitting at 51 subsidiary Ubisoft companies that were either bought or developed wholesale by them.
And what is a subsidiary for those that don't?
Yeah, so it's pretty much just a company that's owned by this company.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's when they got all this investing money.
You got
I'm
it.
gonna grab that company. They have rights to that game that's selling. I'm gonna grab that. I'm gonna grab that.
Yeah, it's how they got a lot of like really good selling games and a lot of really good developers, is they just bought them all.
Yep.
And then in 2015, there was an attempted takeover by Vivendi Media, which is a European company that does a lot of media, outside of gaming and in gaming. And there was a hostile takeover, but the Guillemot family was able to defend it over a 3-year period by buying something like $30 million.
Millions. Yeah, millions of shares. It was
Millions of
crazy.
shares, 30 million shares.
Something like that.
And essentially stave off that attack, blocking Vivendi from doing anything. And then as soon as Vivendi backed out, you get, in 2022, Tencent.
Yes.
The Chinese.
High quality games right here.
Everyone knows the Tencent has a certain level of quality. And
That's a different episode.
right, they'll come.
No go.
49.9% of the total shares in Ubisoft were bought by Tencent.
Jeez.
So it's pretty much a partnership at this point.
Pretty much. Holy cow, that's so much.
And they're headquartered this day in a suburb of Paris, in
Okay.
Montreux or something like that. You just don't pronounce the last few
Yeah,
French.
okay. Yeah, you're teaching me that
Yeah.
today.
You just-
Woo, send it.
Pretend like you're saying them and mute them, and then if someone says you're not saying those letters, you attack them and be like, well, how dare you say that?
How dare you say that? That's how French.
Perfect French.
It's a perfect French. And before we move on from
Yeah.
that history, for me, what I found really striking, we talked about this in the pre-show, is just how little that talked about video games.
Oh yeah, didn't he? What, Rayman?
They've talked about Rayman in the history. It was wild. Like, it blew my mind. The only context they talked about games was, we want to buy this developer because they have rights to that game that's selling.
Yeah.
And so that actually, I got onto the wiki, and this is a game developer. I'm sure they're going to talk about games throughout. No, it read like, I think I described like an article from a Wall Street journal.
Yeah. Yeah, like The Economist would
The
have
Economist.
this in there. Yeah.
I was like, what the heck? And that fits perfectly in with their business model and their mission from the very creation.
Yep.
We're gonna make money.
Right, and all companies have that imperative to make money, but I feel like starting with that and like nothing else.
Nothing else.
It really sets a tone going forward.
Do you like? I just have this idea. These 5 brothers were like, I don't know, had never touched a game before, and they're like, oh, dude, they like that. That's selling, and I doubt they've even played the games. Like,
Oh yeah, I doubt.
that's crazy to me. So that's the takeaway I had after reading that. I was like, this is just business. I'm in a business class right now.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I'm learning about hostile takeovers and subsidiaries. What the heck?
Oh yeah, we're learning a lot today.
We're learning a lot. So you have this one section. There's like one section that listed their most popular franchises, which are Assassin's Creed, of course. Everyone knows Assassin's Creed and
Love
Far
Assassin's
Cry. Those
Creed,
are their 2 most popular at this point.
So good.
Then you have Just Dance, Prince of Persia, Rabbids, Rayman, Tom Clancy's. That's huge. There are so many Tom Clancy's games. Oh my gosh.
Ghost Recon, Rainbow Six Siege,
Yeah.
like,
It kept going.
Ghost Recon.
Yeah. I was like, I don't think I've touched any of these games. Holy cow. I saw in there they actually made a deal with Tom Clancy himself to use his name
Really?
for the games, yeah.
Wow.
Watch Dogs is a pretty recent one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. They listed them.
Whoa.
Like, if you want to know about the games, go to the pages. It's like, I get that, but I'm on your wiki page. Tell me a little bit about your most popular franchise. Nothing.
Like, do you know?
So it'll be interesting to read about other other wiki pages from other developers and see if they talk more about the games, you know, to see that. Because most of this article took up what we're going to be talking about now.
Controversy.
The controversies. Like, most of the wiki page was this. You get through the history and they're like, okay, Ubisoft, here's the things that they've done.
Like, this is front and back printed, these pages that I'm riffling through right now.
And, you know, we're not impartial arbiters of here. We have our biases.
We have a side we're on.
We have a side we're on, very clearly.
Yeah.
But all right, let's get into these controversies, okay?
Right. You want to start us off?
I'll start us off with some of the less frustrating ones. They're all frustrating. Okay, so Ubisoft Connect, right? So it started out as Uplay, and then later changed to Ubisoft Connect. And it serves to manage the digital rights of Ubisoft games on Windows computers, right? So this is called DRM, right? And these are softwares to anti-theft softwares, right?
Digital rights management.
Yep. And so what happens is this led to the criticism, because when they first launched it, the games were required to always be online. Always have these digital rights management, this DRM running. And what would happen, and you have direct experience with this, is what happened is people would lose save files, or they couldn't even get in the game, they couldn't play the single player portions of the game. You always had to be online. And I have experience with this from Diablo 3.
Oh, really?
Right? That happened at like the first week of the game. You couldn't get on.
That's
you couldn't
wild.
play. Yeah.
Why would you release a game if no one can play it for a week? Like, just wait a week. What's wrong with you? Anyway.
I don't know. But yeah, so this situation was aggravated after Ubisoft servers were struck with a denial of service attacks that made Ubisoft's games unplayable due to the DRM.
And that's called the DDoS?
The DDoS. And you said, which Assassin's Creed was this?
It was, this was around Assassin's, well, I'd play all games years after their release, but I was playing Assassin's Creed 4, really enjoying it, and then this landed, and I couldn't play any of my games for like a month straight. So I totally abandoned Ubisoft at that point. I've never bought a game since.
Jeez. And it's like, how many people like you have just
bailed?
Walk the plank, jump ship. Black flag.
This one was really egregious.
Yes.
It sticks out in my mind.
A month. That's insane. Not being able to play your game for a month. How do you expect people to stay around?
Right, and it's like, I paid good money for this. I paid $60.
Premium price there.
And like, I love the Anno series, and let's move on.
And so what I will say here is this is also a controversy because these DRMs don't even work.
No.
So when they first released this, the hackers cracked it in a day. Day one. They got past it day one. So it doesn't even work. It makes it unplayable and unfun for people. So let's just do away with that. And I will say they're not using this anymore. They do still have their Ubisoft platform that every company has.
Right.
Epic Games, and everyone was like, Steam worked, let me do it, right? You have Epic Games and Xbox Live, and there's so many of them. But they don't require this running at all times. It's just when you boot the game, they'll run a check. So that's something. Okay, next one. Blockchain.
Do you want me to take this one?
Yeah, take this one.
Blockchain is a method of recording information that makes it impossible or difficult for the system to be changed, so that information is always there. Changed, hacked, manipulated, can't do it.
Yep.
It's set in stone, right? Blockchain is a distributed ledger, so think like those ledger books bankers have. It's one of those, but every entry in it is spread out all over the place, yet the entries still somehow communicate and understand and relate to each other. And it duplicates and distributes transactions across the network of computers participating in the blockchain. So all of the computers that have the blockchain on it are working together to keep the blockchain running, and it's like a system of checks and balances so that the information always remains untampered and nobody has the master key to like change this information, right? Because it's on all these systems. You can't go to all these systems and make changes to everything.
I see. So there are like unique digital copies of data across this blockchain.
Yep. And we'll probably have a whole episode about the blockchain because gaming in the blockchain is hilarious in my
It's
mind.
hilarious.
But according to Yves Guillemot,
Yep.
one of Ubisoft's co-founders, we've talked about him, crypto-based content in video games will allow players to actually own their digital property within the game.
It's just like contradiction.
Yeah, well,
Owning.
growing the game industry.
I just can't even not laugh. Like, you own this data?
What does that mean?
And so the idea behind this, I watched a video on this, and the
Yeah.
idea that these developers is like, you can use this cryptocurrency to get items in this game, and since it's unique, you can play it and take it into other games. But that makes no sense.
'Cause you can already do that without the blockchain. Like,
Yeah.
you just do it. Like,
It's just like, it doesn't work because different games work differently.
yep.
Or if it does, all of the games are going to be samey in some way. There's going to be a whale that buys the best item, brings it to another game, and just crushes the game. It's just illogical. It doesn't work.
Doesn't work. It's pretty much just a get rich quick scheme, like a lot of the blockchain and like crypto scams that we saw like crash
Yeah.
the crypto market recently.
Yep. NFTs. Woo, way to go.
Yeah, so dumb and it doesn't work. Is that our?
That's what I put. It's dumb, it doesn't work. And, you know, you have a point here that it's just a high-tech pyramid scheme. I'm like, wow, that is so accurate. That really is.
Yeah.
And it really fits in with the ethos of the company, though. Okay, what is popping off right now? Will that make us money? Invest in it. Invest.
Right.
Right? So that's, Yves Guillemot, that's their business model.
Yeah, and they put millions into this.
Millions of
Tens of
dollars.
millions of
Yes.
dollars into
So
this.
much money.
So-
And so these two controversies here and the next one, they all really fit into this, like you said, this larger network of controversies across the gaming industry.
Right. Like, this isn't unique to just Ubisoft. Ubisoft is just one of the most egregious,
Yes.
like,
It's like
perpetrators.
very obvious. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, Ron,
Yep.
the big one.
There's a big one. So,
Deep breath.
yeah, again, trigger warning.
Yes.
Stemming from a wave of sexual misconduct accusations in June and July of 2020, Ubisoft had a number of employees accused of misconduct from both internal and external sources. Between Ubisoft's internal investigation and a study by the newspaper, French newspaper Liberation or Liberation or something like that, employees had been found to have records of sexual misconduct and troubling behavior going back up to 10 years, which had been noted and dismissed by the human resource departments. And I say departments because it's those subsidiaries, those 51 subsidiaries we talked about, are also affected by this.
Yeah, it's really a company-wide, like across the globe, this culture exists.
Oh, yeah. And tons of people have quit or been fired in relation to these accusations coming out. And let's get into the real nitty-gritty here. So, starting right off the bat, this is a guy we haven't heard about before, but Ashraf Ismail, the creative director of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the Norse one that just
Yeah.
came out recently, stepped down due to these allegations being made. So, where he is now, nobody knows.
Yes, they stepped down, probably got a cool severance package on the way out.
But,
Sorry.
yeah, no, you're good.
That's
That's
real.
too real.
Yes.
And he'll probably get a job somewhere else. So,
Probably.
yeah, so he was terminated in 2020. Ubisoft announced 2 executives that were also accused of misconduct had been placed on leave while they were performing their internal review of these accusations. And doesn't really say if those guys got let go or what happened to them. And then specific accusations were made at Ubisoft Toronto, where the studio co-founder Maxime Bellan was forced to resign by management due to sexual misconduct. Yeah.
And it keeps going
It
this
keeps
way. Like these higher ups across the globe in all of their studios, and many of their studios, all this big generalization, but like it happens. Like it's rampant in the company. And then there's the statistics that we saw here. It was So there are, at a certain point, the company had over 16,000 developers. This is just developers, right? And of those developers, oh, you got it here.
Yep.
So let me read that off here for you. So Guillemot sent out a company-wide letter in 2020 summarizing their investigation, finding that nearly 25% of employees had experienced or witnessed misconduct in the last 2 years. The company was implementing a new 4-point plan to correct the problem.
So if you were an employee at Ubisoft, you had a 1 in 4 chance to get sexually assaulted.
Experience it or witness it. Like, what?
That's insane. Like, 1 in 4.
1 in 4.
16,000 developers, it's like 4,000 developers minimum, right?
Yeah, 4,000 developers, and that's not even counting for all of the other positions that exist within companies.
No,
right?
yeah, like
Thousands of people.
and, like, that's not counting your just like support staff.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. And then continuing on, he was forced to resign sexual misconduct issues and led some employees working there to express strong concerns that the way the studio and HR and management disregard complaints just enables this behavior from men, right? And Tommy Francois, the vice president of the editorial and creative services, had been placed on disciplinary action leave around July, and by August, he was let go. So at this point, the company's bleeding tons of people.
So many people. And then, I mean, we even Hascote? Yeah, Hascote. Like, he'd been with the company since 88, I think.
Yeah.
And he was
OG.
He was OG, and he was in charge of so many games, and he infected is what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good word here. Right. I was gonna say impacted and infected how the Assassin's Creed games were made, right? Because he wanted to avoid the use of female protagonists.
Yeah, like completely.
Because, quote, they don't sell games. Females do not sell games, in his thought.
So not just sexual misconduct. Now we're getting into open sexism.
And you know the reason why they said they didn't have support female characters in their Assassin's Creed or Far Cry?
Oh, do tell, Victor.
They had difficulty animating female characters.
They said they couldn't do it.
They said they couldn't do it. It was done in earlier games.
Tons of previous games. And they would go on to do it some more in future games. Like, what the heck?
So, and then it says, Ubisoft employees said that following Assassin's Creed games, which did feature female protagonists at release, including Assassin's Creed Syndicate and Assassin's Creed Origins, the editorial department wanted to remove or downplay all female roles.
All female roles. What does that mean? All female roles. What does that mean? How is it so wide sweeping and then nobody bats an eye at this? Or like, was there a discussion around this?
There was, and the discussion came from Hascote. This was due to the belief that Hascote had sent to the department that female characters did not sell games, and because of his clout within the company, the developers would have to make compromises to meet his expectations, such as the inclusion of strong male characters. If they included a female character, you had to have a strong male character with them. And if the females were used within a cutscene, which he didn't like, Hascote thought they were bad ways to deliver narrative. They had to be attended with a male character.
If we didn't know where this guy came from, I'd be asking, where did this guy come from?
Where did this guy come from?
It's like France. Okay, spurred by these claims, the newspaper Liberation, French newspaper, had begun a deeper investigation, and they released a two-part report that claimed that Ubisoft had a toxic workplace culture, which I feel like this is pretty obvious at this point.
Yes.
And it was corroborated by employees from other studios that suggested some of these problems had extended from the human resource heads of the company ignoring complaints being made against Hascote.
Yeah, and it says that these had been reported directly to Yves Guillemot.
Yep.
Directly. Many employees said that these were directly to him. And sweep it under the rug, keep him there for years until it comes out, until this Me Too movement. This is what sparked all of this and what gave people the courage to speak up.
And there's a quote from Ives saying that he has no knowledge of this.
I have no knowledge.
Any of this going on, which is just, good old-fashioned lawyer speak. He's just trying to cover himself. It's a bold-faced lie, especially when there's reports of tons of people coming to him with these concerns and problems. It's just outrageous. How can you say that and then say, you're not being held accountable for this?
No.
What?
Because Ron, he makes some money. In fact, they didn't, remove any of his power or his role in the company until two of his games didn't just underperform.
Oh, that's Hascode, yeah.
Hascode, yes. So Tom Clancy's Division 2 and Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint underperformed, which gave Ubisoft justification to diminish Hascode's oversight.
That was the justification.
That was the justification.
Not the, let me quote here from this, using sexual misconduct and harassment to intimidate those who criticized him. Right, that's okay. But his games flop, and that's what loses him the job.
It's right into the ethos of the company, Ron.
Right into the ethos. Make money, Victor, at all costs. Money. Oof. So, wow.
All right,
was that one then?
I think that was Hascode. Well, where's he at now? I think he's gone. I think they booted him.
They booted him.
Booted him from the company. And now, Ives, he issued, in September 2020, he issued a formal apology to the company on the lack of responsibility in the matters of these prior events. And he said he is truly sorry and is going to invest $1 million in programs of diversity and inclusion to help remedy these code violations and improve the systems and processes at the company. $1 million, Ron.
Yeah, and most of that actually went to a graduate program. So,
okay.
You're really fixing those problems there, guys.
Well, check it out. This graduate program, this $1 million, will focus on creating opportunities for underrepresented groups, including women and people of color, because you want them to work here when you haven't fixed the culture.
And you may be noticing at home that I'm chuckling or laughing, but it's more of a nervous.
This is nervous rage laugh.
Yeah, because if I don't laugh, if I don't let something out, I'll just be incredibly angry, and it's difficult, right? We're coping.
This is a coping mechanism. Well, this is a mental health check. I hope you're doing well out there.
Hope we're all hanging in there.
Deep breaths.
Yep.
Drink some water.
Because it does get worse from here.
Pause the show.
Yep, pause the show.
Come back. There'll be more. We do have some positive things at the end.
We'll get to them.
We do have them.
We have some.
We just got to trudge through the filth.
The filth.
Okay.
So where were we?
We're back.
Justifications diminished Hasco. We got that done. Complaints. Reported directly to Ives, and he dismissed them. Gamasutra, also, that's a game journalist site. They corroborated that these issues appear to replicate across all the studios, right? 2 heads got kicked out. 2 positions were created, the head of workplace culture and head of diversity and inclusion. And they were created to oversee the safety and morale of employees going forward, right? So he's making some changes, right?
Yeah.
The $1 million, got 2 new positions. It's looking good, but we'll see.
Superficially, it's looking good.
Right. Superficially, it's looking good. And we've got that sick, statistic, that absolutely disgusting statistic of 25% of the employees having experienced or witnessed misconduct in the last 2 years.
2 years. And here's my thing, too, right? Because it says that with Hascode specifically and Ansel, which we'll see here in a moment, Ives directly knew about this and had close relations with them. And Hascode had been with the company since 1988.
Right.
And this says 2 years, but how long has that been going on?
The whole time.
The whole time.
Yeah. I can't say it definitely because that's like slander, and I can get in trouble for that legally. But it is my opinion that has probably been going on for a long time, if not the whole time. And same with like Ansel. In September 2020, there's that number 2020. It just keeps coming around. Michel Ancel leaves Ubisoft and the game industry entirely to work on a wildlife preserve. That seems
so funny.
suspicious.
It was left in good hands. I'm going to work on a wildlife preserve. That's just my calling.
Yeah, and everybody who was working on the project says it was not in a good state for him to leave. It was not in good hands. It was a mess. And him leaving probably wasn't related to that. What? It just... Liberation, coming back to them, found that Ansel's attention, like, he just...
he was haphazard.
Yeah.
His management style was abusive. And he had a lack of organization and leadership on the project early. And then back again, Liberation claimed that his close relationship with Yves Guillemot was what allowed the situation to continue until 2020.
Because Ansel and the other guy, they're both...
It's top down at this company.
It's the management, right? It is everybody's top down. Like, Yves is friends with these people, or at least very close working relationship with both of these fellas. And then you think that isn't true about the rest of the upper management? Like, they all know each other. They work closely together, and we read off like 5 or 6 names in addition to Ansel and what was his name? Harcourt?
There's another one, Hughes Ricoeur, the managing director of Ubisoft Singapore, stepped down from the role after these internal reviews. He remained with the company, though. And it just keeps going. And I implore you, if you want to learn more about this, because I already want to get to some of the good.
Right.
I don't want to be stuck in this mud, with them. But I implore you to read through this if you want some more of the specific details. But at this time, it really hasn't improved much. But I will say that the employees are pushing back.
Yep.
And...
Oh, big time. Like the French trade union, for example, Solidaires Informatique, initiated a class action lawsuit against Ubisoft in relation to the allegations. Solidaires Informatique had previously represented workers in the case of workplace concerns at French developer Quantic Dream, which is an old name there. I haven't heard them in a long time. At the trial in 2021, the Telegram reported that very little had changed within Ubisoft, the company, as many of the HR staff that were part of the problem remained in their positions within the company, both in its France headquarters and its Canadian divisions. So a year later, after saying we've changed so many things, we've improved so many. Yves going on the record saying, I'm sorry, we're going to change things. A year later, a union has to take legal action against this company because they haven't changed anything.
Yeah, and then it's like we go up to July 2021 when Blizzard was dealing with all of this. About 500 employees across Ubisoft signed a letter of solidarity with the people that walked out at Blizzard.
I love it. I love to see it.
I love that. Yeah, and then Yves, of course, was we have heard clearly from this letter that not everyone is confident in the process as we have been put in place for misconduct reports. And the employees are like, Ubisoft continues to protect and promote known offenders and their allies. We see management continue to avoid the issues. And they have, in the employees' response, they included 3 demands.
3 demands.
Of their managers between the studios to avoid issues, for the employees to have collective seat in ongoing discussions to improve the workplace situation, and establishing cross-industry collaboration for how to handle future offenses. So this is great.
Yeah.
They're coming up with the 3-point plan and pushing back against the company. Right.
And this is definitely a civil rights issue too. Yes. They have to defend their rights of not being harassed at work. And if this is what it takes, then that's what it takes.
solidarity with you.
Right, and just the audacity on Ives, I can't get over it. Like how he's just constantly like wishy-washy and like all over the place, right? He's friends with these people, yet he's like sad about all this, and he's trying to make a change, but change hasn't happened. So like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
What does he do every day? For a year, what has he been doing?
What is he doing? But yeah, so these 3-point plans to end this cycle of simply rotating the troublesome executives around.
Oh yeah, where have we seen that one before?
And managers to avoid the issues.
Right.
I really hope something good comes of this company, of this now. The article kind of ended here in 2021, of what I was reading. And so we're gonna have to see how this comes along. But there's a lot of lawsuits you can read about as well.
Some good
the company
Kotaku
does not
articles.
seem to be in a good place. A lot of employees are left. A lot of leadership have been fired or moved around.
And
Yikes.
Kotaku, what was it? Translated a report from Solders Informatique saying that that Ubisoft, as a legal entity, is for institutional sexual harassment, for setting up, maintaining, and reinforcing a system where sexual harassment is tolerated because it is more profitable for the company to keep harassers in place than to protect its employees.
That spells it out.
Yep. And that'll be answered in French courts.
Yep. Whew. So
Yeah.
that's Ubisoft.
That's Ubisoft.
But okay, well, let's talk about some games,
What a
Ron.
bunch of swell fellas. Yeah.
So let's talk about some games. The question I have for you, after all of this discussion about the controversies, Ubisoft, their history, are the games worth your time? Are the games good? Right? Does all of this justify, like, it's not justified, but like, are the games at least good?
So I would argue that some of them are good, but they're not worth your time.
Not worth. I like that. That is a very succinct way to spell it out. It can be good, but not worth your time in the context of supporting this company.
Look, I loved Black Flag. I loved Assassin's Creed 2. Like, Tom Clancy, I've played all the Rainbow Six games. Like, I loved all of these games, but after learning all of this, I cannot endorse anyone spending time on an Ubisoft game. Like, this is where your money's going, right? It's the 25% of people being mistreated. That's what you're paying for.
Thousands of people.
Yeah, you're paying for thousands of people to be continuously damaged and harmed and traumatized. Like, I wish I could refund all my games.
I feel that I haven't played a lot of Ubisoft games, but I feel that way about Blizzard. Another episode.
Yeah, another episode.
Big
we'll get
episode.
to.
Maybe. These
Maybe.
episodes are hard.
This is dreary.
But I found, as I like to do, I like the arbiters of truth, Reddit. So I found a Reddit article, and I was just like,
heard that one before.
I just wanted to see what the mass fans that have played the games a lot, what do they think, right? So I found an article from 2020, posted by Joshua Kane, 0208. Thank you for this, Joshua. Sparked a really good conversation in the comments, and the title of the article is Ubisoft is the King of Mediocre.
I totally agree with this opinion.
And so I was just reading through this, and there's a lot of common consensus here that mediocrity, ubiquitous mediocrity,
mediocrity.
is the consensus across the company. I love this first one here. I'll just we'll read through some of these comments and talk about it. I've come to the conclusion that Ubisoft games are the equivalent of comfort food. Like McDonald's, their food isn't amazing, it's nothing special, but sometimes you just want McDonald's.
Yeah, and that's how they get you, right? Is every once in a while, like, oh man, the McRib is back, right? Oh, I gotta go.
Gotta go.
Right?
That's hilarious, because that's actually so funny, because when I was looking for this, there was an ad about the McRib coming back. Oh man, that's hilarious.
What a coincidence, yeah.
Honestly, is Assassin's Creed the McRib of the gaming industry? Because every few years it's like, it's back.
and it's not really the same.
Not really the same. Different kind of meat.
Yeah.
It looks the same.
Yep, and you
Same
remember
name,
it, right?
but it might not be the meat you remember.
Oh Lord.
Okay, the next one here. I like this one. Ubisoft is the king of being on the cusp of something great. Like, right on the precipice of doing a truly great game, but then making some numbskull decisions, or having a weak narrative experience, or launching a super buggy, or just fumbling at the goal line.
Fumbling at the goal line is really like, that's what I thought of Assassin's Creed Valhalla when I was like watching people play it, or like reading reviews and stuff. It's totally a fumbled game. It could be so much better. It could be like the one Assassin's Creed that takes place in Greece, which I personally was really tempted to buy and play. But I got to remember this stuff.
Got to remember this stuff.
It's like that. It's that McDonald's
It's
reference.
McDonald's.
Man.
I'm guilty. We're guilty here. Well, that's what's important to note in this episode. We're not high horsing you.
No, and it's not easy.
It's not easy.
It's not simple.
We just want to play games we like. So it's
Right.
like, why are you doing this behind the scenes?
Yes. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to us?
To us and to your employees and people. And it's at the end of these people. And so I really like this point because it's like, think about Assassin's Creed, Far Cry. The concepts are great, and they fumble them with what we've seen are all of these numbskull decisions.
Yep. The execution is never there.
Yeah. Okay, next one here.
Yeah.
This one's hilarious.
Yeah.
Ubisoft games feel like they've been developed by an AI at this point.
I never thought of that until now.
Me
That's genius.
It's
That's
just formulaic. It works.
like the definition of formulaic. Like that's, they love it. That's their bread and butter. They wouldn't have it any other way. That's just how they make games.
Yeah, and so like in some of the comments I was seeing, I didn't put them here, but it's like the Ubisoft formula is just kind of old at this point, right?
Yeah. That always
It's not
chasing trends.
Always,
and-
that's what it is. Trend chasing. What works? What sells? What money? Ooh, what can we make money so we can get more chateaus?
Ooh, more chateaus.
And I.
And you brought that up, but I just gotta say, it was called The Chateau.
The chateau.
It didn't have a name. It didn't have a place. It didn't have an address. It was just The Chateau in the
That's so
article.
rich.
So, yeah.
That's such rich kid stuff, dude.
So sorry to distract. Let's get
No,
back
this is
at
fun.
it.
This
Yeah.
is we gotta have fun. We
gotta have fun.
here at the end. Come on.
Right.
Come on, Ron.
It's
Why do we do this podcast if it's not fun?
exactly, and it's always fun to punch up.
Can
Right.
confirm, brothers.
Right at the rich people.
Yes. Okay. This
Yes.
one I really liked this one. I think this summed up a lot of this episode.
Oh.
Okay.
Yep.
This is what happens when you care only about share value and not about your customers. They aren't alone, but they're definitely one of the prime examples of just releasing safe, formulaic games over and over.
And over and over.
And over. Maybe I did put it here. The Ubisoft style of open world game is really stale at this point, and I have zero interest in playing the next Assassin's Creed. I love my misspeaks today. Assassin's Creed.
We're both killing it on
We're
the
killing it.
misspeak.
We're
Yeah.
killing it. Okay, the next Assassin's Creed game or the next Far Cry games. Take a effing risk and make something exciting. Until then, you're dead to me. Just like the Call of Duty series. Yawn.
Yawn is such a great way to end that.
You're dead to me.
It's banal. It's played out. It's been done. Ubisoft doesn't do new or original.
Dude, this is so disappointing because I remember when Assassin's Creed came out.
So
It
good.
was so revolutionary. It was so different and fresh for the time period.
It was really fun too. That was one of the few games that I've actually beaten.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
100% it.
Yeah, it was
I
the
only have a
original
couple of those.
Oh, I love it so much. The story it's well written. And
Yeah.
I could go.
What I
on.
love about it too is I would watch you play, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, when you watch a person that can play those games well, at least the first one, because they're so mechanically tight, I'm like, you just feel dope. You
Yeah.
feel awesome.
And it takes so much to, in the first one at least, it felt like you earned that.
Yeah.
You earned that right to be really good at Assassin's Creed, just untouchable, right?
Yeah, because I liked the hidden blade, right? And I've watched videos about how the hidden blade is just illogical and isn't functional. That doesn't matter. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And I'm watching it. You're like, I'm doing a hidden blade only run. I'm like, what, isn't that hard? You're like, that's the point. And you look so cool, just blocking, stab,
Yeah.
block, stab. And then I tried. I'm like, I can't. You make it look so easy.
And it's like a dance, but that's, again, the tragedy of Ubisoft games is I love that they're so cool and they're so good and there's so much to love about them, but they just, it's almost like they don't want you to buy their stuff. They don't want you to like care or invest or like buy this stuff.
Yeah.
It's just mixed messages the whole
It is
way
mixed
down.
messaging,
Yeah.
right? And all I can say is, you're ubiquitously dead to me. Did I messed up? I was trying to use the ubiquitous.
Yeah.
Ubiquitously? That's
Dead.
a hard word.
Right?
Dead to me. Or, no, yawn.
Yawn. Yeah, that's my response to Ubisoft these days.
Yawn.
If it wasn't so messed up, it's just yawn.
It's just yawn. And okay, so in this last point, is it worth your time? And are the games good? The general conversation is that the games are fun for a little bit, but not great.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had this point here. I'll let you read this.
Oh, yeah. This comes from somebody I really respect in, like, I know it's weird to say, video game journalism.
Okay.
Or whatever it is
Sure.
we're doing here. I guess
Are we
it's,
journalists?
I mean, after this, I
We
think
just
we are.
we just read off wiki stuff.
It counts.
Is that journalism?
It counts.
Wow, this is great.
Research was involved.
Yes.
There's sources somewhere.
This is fantastic.
right?
Okay, sorry.
But Stephanie Sterling, Commander Stephanie Sterling, has been around for a long time and has always been on the case of Ubisoft. And I think she put it really well, that after we've learned all of this, Ubisoft should never be allowed to just forget. Like, that's it. They should never be allowed to forget the things they've done.
Yeah. People they've hurt, and I think that's very perfect and succinct there, because if we go back through that timeline of all of the harassment and sexual allegations and all of the lawsuits, that is what Ives was trying to do time and time again. Just putting these fake practices to just forget.
Yep.
Just to move on.
And just kind of sweep it under the rug.
Under the rug.
And don't think about it. Don't look at it. Don't talk about
It
it.
was from him and HR and moving employees around. And Stephanie, I 100% agree.
So keep on rocking in the free world, Stephanie. And I guess our last question for today, our outro question is, what did we learn today?
Too much. Too much.
Too much. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly, I learned, for me, the purpose of this episode was learning, right? What are we getting into with our games? And so the big lesson for me is, when I play a game, to learn about who I'm supporting better, right? Because they try to hide that.
Yeah.
They try to make you forget. They try to, so just peel back the layers, get that knowledge of, okay, am I supporting someone good? Am I supporting someone bad? And I always go back to Relogic for Terraria, because they're fantastic developers.
Saints, yeah.
They're saints. They're always giving back. They've never charged DLC ever. Their game has never gone above $10.
Constantly updating it?
Constantly updating it.
What?
And controversies come out, right? Like there's the new controversy about the Unity games made with Unity. I can't remember what company, but they're trying to charge people that use that software 20 cents a piece for when someone uninstalls your game.
That's insane.
People just uninstall games sometimes.
Yeah.
Or like, what if you're just uninstalling a game and moving it to another computer?
Right.
It's just so punishing. So Terraria came out and said, we hate that. That's bad. We don't use Unity, but that's bad for the industry. They gave $100,000 to 2 open source engines. I can't remember the name. I should have looked it up. And they're like, we're committed from this point forward to give them $1,000 a month to ensure that these stay open source and quality and usable for everyone.
And that's going to benefit everyone.
Yeah.
Like, not just their company, not just the like who owns the engines or whatever. It's everyone. Anyone who's going to use the software is benefiting. Anyone who's going to play a game that's made in this software is benefiting from that. And I feel like the $1,000 a year, or what was it? A month? That's going to go way further than the $1 million Ives put towards a
graduate scholarship. Because, I mean, think about that. He's like, we need to get more people of color and women in here so we can harass them.
Yeah.
Bro. Dude.
Like, really? What? You think just getting more people that you can take advantage of in the industry is going to make problems go away?
So I always go back to Relogic, and Terraria at this point, they've had these good practices for over a decade now, and they're the 9th best-selling game ever.
That's impressive.
Right.
And it's an indie company, like a no-name, like
indie.
That's all they've done, right?
That's it.
Terraria. That's it.
They are developing games in the background, but he's like, I don't know, it's just profitable to make Terraria good. He said, still, in this year, there was a statistic back in 2022 that he was still selling 600,000 copies a month. Like, still. And he's like, we want to make another game, but, like, I don't know, it's still working.
It's too good.
It's too good. And so that's the big lesson, the big takeaway for me, is learn the controversies, learn what's going on at the companies and the people where your money's going.
I think that's a great answer, and I think that is kind of what we're getting at here. Is like, figure out what you're supporting. Do you want to make the world better? I feel like most people want to make the world a better place, right?
I do.
I do.
I think most people do.
Right.
Yeah.
And like education and learning about these things, sure, they're dark and they can be depressing and they can bring you down, but that's not the point, right? The point is to resist this, to fight against it.
And just like
support the good.
For me too, like even in that, I was so happy to hear about the employees like, no, we're pushing back.
Yeah.
We're solidarity with these companies. We want you to do these things to fix the industry because we don't want to leave. We love games because that's what we forget in this too. Is there's so many developers that want to make you great games,
right?
But are just screwed by people like Ives.
Ives, who will just buy your company and be like, you're now a part of this culture.
Oh, I hate that thing.
Right? Like, what?
So, the lesson here at the bottom of the hour, play indie games.
Yeah, generally.
So, I hope you all learned something. Honestly, like, it was a hard episode, but I feel good. I feel good knowing this and sharing this information, getting it out there.
Yeah, good, because we should never let Ubisoft forget this stuff.
No. Don't let them forget.
Never let them forget.
Okay, Ron.
Yeah, Victor?
I think we got to wrap it up.
That's it, huh?
This is a wrap, episode 27.
Wow. It felt like I was wrestling a bear the whole time.
I know, oh my gosh. But if you have some questions, you have some input about this show, please reach out to us.
Yeah,
right?
Please do.
Please let us know. You can reach us at shareddiscoveryshow@gmail.com. Check us out on Instagram. Post in there. We said at the beginning of the hour. Videos, short little snippets, things from the set, pictures of the set, just fun things of us playing games, and that's where you'll be up to date on when we post our D&D footage, gameplay footage.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons, right?
For the uninitiated.
It's gonna be fun. We're no Critical Role, but we're gonna have a good time.
Oh, please don't compare me to Critical Role. I'm not gonna try.
Oh man, but thank you BCTV for having us.
Thanks guys.
We can't do this without. I gotta look here. Yes, thank you BCTV. And then, yes, the Instagram is the same as the email, Shared Discovery Show. And then I just want to again make an announcement here, like subscribe to our YouTube because that's where we're going to be putting these D&D gameplay videos if you want to see us play them. But do check us out on on Spotify, Google, Apple if you just want to listen. That's
All the
totally
socials.
fine.
All the socials.
Okay, all right, plugging over, chilling over. Let's wrap it up, Ron. Let's
got
get
it.
out of here. Okay,
Right.
so thank you for joining us on episode 27 of Shared Discovery. As we close, please make sure to have fun. Be kind to others. Like, I think that's a lesson for this episode.
You know, just be kind.
Be kind to others
Really.
and play games. So, Ron, sign us out.
Riches must be divided, but real wealth can be shared.
Thanks, guys.
Have a
See
good
you
one.
next time.